The rain-slick street reflected the neon glow of the bar across from the apartment building, its windows fogged with the breath of strangers. My heart hammered as I stood in the alley, collar up, watching her silhouette vanish through the glass doors. Lena, my wife of 7 years, had slipped out of our home an hour ago. Her excuse, a late client meeting, still lingered in the air like a lie I couldn't yet name. But I followed her. I didn't even try to convince myself it was just curiosity. It was fear. And tonight, I needed to see the truth with my own eyes. This wasn't her office building. Not even close. It was residential, elegant, gated, secure. I'd walked past it 100 times and never paid it much mind. Now it loomed like a silent verdict. I hesitated at the entrance, heart racing. The doorman, dressed crisp in a navy blazer, raised an eyebrow at me. "I need you to call up for someone," I said, trying to steady my voice. "Name?" "Lena Carter." His fingers hovered over the desk phone. "And who, may I say, is calling?" I looked him square in the eye. "Her husband, James." There it was. The moment I forced the lie into the light. A simple title, husband, but one that now felt fragile in my mouth. His eyes flicked over me, and for a second, I wondered what he saw. A wet man in a cheap coat, eyes red-rimmed, jaw tight, hands clenched so hard my nails bit into my palms. He nodded once and picked up the phone. Behind me, the rain whispered against the pavement, soft as regret. I didn't turn round. I stared at the elevator beyond the lobby glass, waiting for the doors that might hold my undoing. What if I was wrong? What if she was here for a friend? Or a meeting that just happened to be held in someone's apartment? What if this was me unraveling for nothing? But deep down, I knew better. I knew by the way she started locking her phone weeks ago, by the new perfume she wore that didn't have a name, only a story she refused to tell, by the quiet way she laughed lately, just a little too distant, just a little too forced. The doorman hung up. "She's coming down." The words hit like a hammer to the chest. I stepped back, letting the overhang shield me. I didn't want her to see me first. I needed to see her face, the real one, not the one she wore at home. The alley stank of old rain and forgotten trash. But I didn't move. I didn't blink. Because when that elevator door opened, I'd know. And once you know something, you can't ever unknow it again. I used to think that love protected you from this kind of moment. That if you build a life brick by brick, shared bank accounts, inside jokes, broken sinks, and Sunday pancakes, there would be a kind of safety in it. A shield. But standing there, soaked to the bone, I realized how fragile those bricks really were, how easily they crumbled when the foundation of trust started to rot. I'd ignored the signs for too long. It started small. Lena laughing at her phone and tilting the screen away. "Just work stuff," she'd say. And I believed her because I wanted to. Then came the late meetings, the changed passwords, the unexplained absences. I remember the day she came home wearing a new shade of lipstick, deep red, sultry, and I told her she looked beautiful. She smiled, distracted, then wiped it off before dinner, said it was too much. But I knew it wasn't for me. She used to hum when she cooked. Random, happy little tunes. Lately, the kitchen had been silent. Even our arguments had changed. They became strategic, measured, like she was managing a crisis instead of speaking to the man she used to laugh with under the sheets. Still, I didn't confront her. I told myself we were both just tired. That love goes through phases. That marriage was hard. But if I'm honest, I was scared. Scared of what I'd find if I pulled the thread too far. Scared of losing the version of us I carried in my head. And maybe deep down scared of what it would say about me if she did choose someone else. The elevator still hadn't opened. Every second stretched long and cruel. I looked down at my shoes, soaked and muddy, and thought about all the mornings we stood at the sink brushing our teeth together. How she once leaned into my shoulder and said, "You're my calm." When did I stop being that? Was it the stress, the routines, the weight of bills and deadlines and never enough time? Or did she change first? Did I wanted to scream, not at her, at myself, for not seeing it sooner, for seeing it and doing nothing, for loving someone so much that I forgot to ask if they still love me back. Behind the glass, the elevator dinged. I felt my throat tighten. My legs didn't move. I just stared. I thought of our wedding day. Her smile, white and real. The way she cried during her vows. The way I believed every single word she said. I still don't know when exactly the truth slipped out of us. Maybe that's the worst part. That there wasn't one big betrayal, just 1,000 tiny silences stacked on top of each other, until it collapsed. The doors opened. I held my breath. This was it. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime. But it wasn't her. A stranger stepped out. A man in a baseball cap and hoodie, brushing past the doorman like I didn't exist. My breath caught, and for a second, I didn't know whether to feel relief or disappointment. My heart was sprinting, my thoughts racing in circles. Where was she? The doorman looked up from his desk. "She said she's coming down. Might be a minute." A minute. I leaned back against the cold brick wall of the building, my hands trembling slightly. The rain had slowed to a mist now, light, steady, but unrelenting. My shirt clung to my skin. Water ran down my neck. I didn't care. This building, this night, This silence. All of it felt like a waiting room before surgery. You know something's wrong. You just don't know how deep the cut will be, or if it'll ever stop bleeding once they slice it open. A part of me still hoped I was wrong. That Lena would come down with a tight smile and a believable excuse. That she'd say she ran into a friend. Or that the campaign meeting really was here because a colleague lived upstairs. Maybe she'd be annoyed, even hurt, that I didn't trust her. But hope is a dangerous thing. It keeps you on the hook even when the line snapped. The elevator dinged again. This time, it was her. I saw her before she saw me. She stepped out into the marble-lit lobby, her heels delicate against the tile, a dark blue dress clinging to her figure. Not work clothes, not even close. Her hair was styled, her makeup flawless, her clutch hung from her wrist like it belonged to a different life. She turned and said something to the doorman. He nodded toward the door. Her head lifted. Our eyes met. She froze, and in that moment, I watched everything fall apart in her expression. Shock, guilt, panic. Her lips parted, but no words came. Just a sharp inhale. I stepped forward, out of the shadows. "This isn't your office," I said quietly. She didn't respond, just stared like a deer caught in headlights. "You lied, Lena." Her jaw twitched. She looked away for a second, then back at me with a forced calm. "I can explain." "No," I cut her off. "Don't explain. Just tell me the truth, right now, before I walk away." She blinked, rain starting to catch in her hair as she stepped outside. "It's a meeting," she said, voice low. "Just work here at 10 at night." In heels and lipstick I've never seen before, she looked like she wanted to argue, wanted to spin, but there was no room left. "Tell me who," I said. The words hung in the air, sharp and final. She hesitated. And then she whispered it, so soft I almost didn't hear. "Mark." Everything inside me sank. Her boss. Of course, the one who called late, the one she laughed with at office parties, the one I was never allowed to be jealous of. I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I just looked at her and said, "You could have just told me. You could have told me when I still loved you enough to forgive you." And with that, I turned and walked away. Not because I was strong, but because if I stayed, I would have begged her to love me back. And I deserved more than that. The apartment was dark when I returned. Quiet, like it had braced for impact. I didn't turn on the lights, just stood by the door, dripping, breath shallow, unsure what to do with myself. My keys dangled in my hand. Useless. There was nothing left to lock up anymore. I half expected her to follow me, to burst through the door and explain everything in some last-ditch scramble to rewrite the ending. But she didn't. She always knew when silence hurt more than shouting. I peeled off my coat, shoes squishing with every step toward the kitchen. That's when I saw a tan envelope on the counter. No name, no decoration, just sitting there like it had been waiting. I stared at it for a long time before picking it up. Inside, there was no apology, just a short note scribbled in her handwriting. "You didn't deserve any of this. I don't have the right words. Maybe someday I will. I'm staying at my sister's. Take care of yourself, James. I'm so sorry." Beneath the note, folded carefully, was a photo. Us on our honeymoon in Santorini. She was laughing, her head thrown back, sun in her hair. I was squinting at the camera, arm around her, smile wide, young and dumb and in love. I hadn't seen this one in years. My knees buckled, and I sank to the floor. The envelope slipping from my fingers, tears came slow, silent. The kind that built quietly over time and finally break without a sound. Not because of what she did, but because of what we used to be. Because something real had existed once, and now it was a memory she left folded beside a lie. I held the photo like it was glass, scared it might shatter if I gripped it too hard. All I kept thinking was, when did we stop being those people? I don't remember the last time she laughed like that. I don't remember the last time I looked at her without wondering who she really was. And I don't know if I'll ever trust myself again, not just to love, but to know when love's already gone. Eventually, the rain outside stopped, but inside me, it kept falling, quiet, relentless, like everything I didn't say.